y'all. Lady V here. It's been a little while, but I'm trying to work on that, a little bit of consistency here. Today, I kind of want to talk a little bit about upgrading coping mechanisms. And then also, I kind of have a commission little side job painting of making some signs for a fellow artist and creative who's going to be working at a festival, and they just need some signs made. So I'm going to prep this and prime it. I'm really just going to use white paint, and then probably get to try to blend colors, maybe draw some of the stuff, but we'll see where I get along with that. But in terms of coping mechanisms and upgrading those, this is something I just found myself kind of contemplating on today, after having a really hard time processing some stress. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because sometimes I'll have really good days and it will be easier, and I have a lot of good things in my life that are happening that enable me to look forward into the positive opportunities that I'm creating. And so in general, with my own personal life, I have gotten to a better place within me, that I am, creating better energies even from within the face of adversity. And I still have that positive outlook, more so than I ever had before, right? And so what that might look like is, I don't know how things might occur, but I'm having that faith, I'm having that trust, and that good feeling energy of it's gonna work out, even if I don't know how. So that has left me feeling more often than not in a higher positive place of being that, helps me to stay motivated and keep going along the path forward. But there are some things that, I got people close to me that is going through some stuff, and I can't really give details, because things that are still currently happening, and I don't want to cause any further issue by providing unnecessary things, but it's close to my heart, and my twin is experiencing some great injustices at the justice system's hands. And not only that, but I've been being called to begin making this side documentary, working with a friend of mine who's also suffering injustice at the justice system hands, on the side of being a victim of her son's murder, and being a victim of this system and how they're doing that. In particular, we have a lot of politic issues going on, and the current person kind of in power with the policies in place is advocating the youth with lenient consequences, based on the fact that they're a young offender, or if they committed something under a minor. And so a lot of things are pretty ludicrous, because the individual that's currently being charged with the murder of my friend's son was on bail for other charges, for attempted murder, robbery, arms, a full gamut of things. And while they were on bail, committed the murder against her son. And the expectation is to let him go easily. And it's can you not see things are escalating here? He was out on bail, and he got even worse. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I have a few areas in my life that are just speaking volumes to what the justice system is doing. In regards to my twin's case, is just ripped away from his own family and home, and there's just so much going on there. And hopefully soon enough I'll be able to talk more about it. But it's been extremely stressful for me being that twin. This I can't do anything, and it's out of my control, and it's something that my twin has to undergo and process, and kind of work through as things unfold. And it's extremely stressful to me to not be able to do anything about it, and not knowing how the future may be and how things might turn out. And it's scary, and there's a lot of biases in place. So we have no faith or trust in the justice system to do its job and do right, by us and by the people. They say innocent until proven guilty, but it's been the exact opposite. And they've been treating my twin like an absconding felon, and he has no history whatsoever. And actually he's a veteran and has sacrificed a lot to serve this country. And this is kind of just a spit in his face for all the good that he does continuously. And they're sitting here treating him just so crazy. And a lot of it has been very money motivated, and they're getting a lot of money out of this through drawing out the process and all that stuff. So it's extremely difficult, but that's why I do feel called to help make the documentary. But today, you know, just sitting in that had me wondering, like, how the fuck, like, I almost got to this place of overwhelming, like, I'm so stressed out, and it's not even like my stress per se, but I am taking it on as mine because that's like my loved one. That's, we grew up together. We've gone through all this life together, we were born together, like, so it's extremely difficult to not feel a lot of that that my twin is going through. So how do I upgrade my coping mechanisms? Because you know what, like, shit, I thought I had a handle on it. I was doing pretty good, and more of the recent things that I have been doing to help just with my normal life where things are progressing is taking more time to take pause. And I've been working with my therapist, and that's more like a recent, like, this year type of thing. Because I done tried therapy before in the past. It never worked. It was always a terrible experience. But I found a good therapist, and I like the place that I'm with, and they do a pretty good job. But she calls it resourcing. So for me, it's like, okay, just slow down, take a pause, build presence, with what's going on right in front of me. And that's usually sitting outside in my garden with the birds, the winds, the little bugs, and oftentimes my cats, like, sitting out there, and kind of just removing myself from that train of thought, whether it's I'm overthinking and focused on the future and not knowing what's going on, or I'm in the past and I'm feeling all types of things. So how I get myself out of that state of being is literally pulling myself into the present by taking this kind of ritual action of building presence in the now moment through meditative taking pause and just sitting with nature. A lot of times I do not bring my phone. Sometimes I do, just to take pictures, like if the birds or there's a butterfly. But oftentimes I try to just be present and not be engaged or distracted. So today I found myself, like, not taking a pause and just literally so stressed out and like, oh my God, I haven't felt like this in a little while. Like, how do I deal with this? How do I keep myself from getting stuck in this? Because that's what I found myself in, like, literally for hours, just stuck in that stress and just, that wheel of a negative feedback loop, and not being able to get out of that and not being able to pull myself together, like, hey, I got shit to do today, okay? Like, I can't be sitting here stressed out overthinking about shit I have no control over, and things that are still unknown. And so upgrading coping mechanisms, absolutely necessary. And for me, that's looking like begin with a hot shower, wash away all that energy, and keep that momentum going. Like, I was playing. I don't know if it's able to be heard right now because I'm trying out this little microphone thing. But I have some Chantress Seba playing in the background, and she does this amazing vocals, very calming and meditative music. So I had that playing while taking the shower to help get me in a different state of being and help, flow my energy in different directions. So when I got out, keeping that same momentum of that energy, and I was like, okay, let me, put on, like, my art clothes, get to work. I need to do this no matter how stressed I am, but also not push it down, not push it away and try to ignore it, because that was my favorite coping mechanism before, was being a workaholic, and I just work it away, and I'm just too exhausted at the end of the day to sit up and process and deal with, so today I didn't necessarily do that, and I pushed it away by other means, a different form of distraction, which was playing games on my phone for way too long. And sometimes lately I've noticed I've been watching a little bit more YouTube reels, or a little bit more of the Instagram reels and things like that. So I have to be mindful, and I've begun creating, like, an awareness around that. When I am sitting a little bit too long doing that stuff, I'm like, okay, you know what, I've had enough time with this. What am I doing? And so today was pulling that focus away and out of that, pulling myself out of playing this game, knowing that I'm pushing things away. I'm trying to bury that stress, and understanding that bearing the stress isn't going to make it go away. maybe temporarily you feel better, and temporarily is not as much on the forefront of your mind. But the thing is, it's still there and it's very strong and just gets pushed right back forward, So how do we process it and actually release it? Like, that's literally where I'm at. Like, let me actually process it and not just store it back there for it to come back later, because then it's an endless vicious cycle. Endless vicious cycle, just pushing it back and it surging forward and exploding, and you're just like filled with this emotion and not knowing how to deal with that. And so yeah, processing it is a little bit difficult because that's not something I have that much experience with. But I feel like that's why it's necessary to figure out, how do I upgrade my coping mechanisms? Because having those upgraded coping mechanisms is going to allow me to process at a higher level of what is happening, what stress I am currently undergoing. And this is something that applies to all of us, mostly because we are all going to go through stress in our life, whatever form it might take. Details don't matter. This stress is going to be there. And that's the thing. I think a lot of the time social media, is like, oh, look at these people's lives, and it's a very curated experience or outlook or perception, that's created. And what it's not showing is the struggle that everyone is undergoing. There's a struggle inside as well as outside. It wasn't always just all fine and dandy. You know what I mean? Like, everyone is going to go through stress at some point in their life for whatever reason it is, whatever the details. And even if maybe some are less severe than others, say somebody's never felt stress in their entire life, they don't understand something that's more severe. They just understand stress as stress. Like, that is severe stress to them because they don't know better. And those were people I used to have grudges and hold resentment for, from a young age, because of things that I was going through. And it was like, well, how can you, be acting like you're so stressed out, or you're dealing with so much? And I hear your story and it's like, what? But I had to learn how to let all that shit go, right? So everyone becoming more aware of the need to upgrade their coping mechanisms will help tremendously in the journey as we move forward, because there's always going to be new things thrown at us, and the whole point is we got to be prepared for those things when they get thrown at us, to be able to have that capacity that is thrown at us, but we can handle it. And if you don't have those upgraded coping mechanisms, sorry, I'm dyslexic, upgraded coping mechanisms, then you don't have that capacity to be able to handle it. So when it gets thrown at you, you just buckle under the weight, under the pressure, and you break down, which is normal. Everyone's going to have those points and times, but how often are you having those? Is it a frequent occurrence? And how severe, So those are the questions you want to ask yourself, because these are things that we want to be able to help prevent, reoccurring. We want to limit them as much as possible, and sometimes it's not really possible to completely limit it, right? But if you develop those coping mechanisms, you can greatly lessen the severity of what you might be experiencing in terms of a breakdown, or you'll be able to handle a tremendous amount more. But the whole point, part of developing these coping mechanisms, upgrading them, is practicing that awareness. This is a core component. It goes alongside, it's really important that you have both of these, right? Because you can't just upgrade the coping mechanisms without upgrading the awareness, right? So when you have that awareness of when things are starting to build to that overwhelming point, that's when you can cue into yourself and be like, oh crap, all right, let me reach to a coping mechanism that helps. That's healthy and not unhealthy, which honestly, anything done too much, right, can be pretty unhealthy. But one thing that, I really have been using also as a coping mechanism is coffee. And it's like, I don't even need it, right? And I drink it every day morning just to wake up, let me drink a cup. But oftentimes the third cup is there's stress, and I'm drinking that third cup to help me, kind of just zen into a different state of being. And it's not the best way, to do that. So trying to build into practice, exercising more, these are things that I'm not successful at, I'm trying, I'm working on it, but I haven't created that routine. And things is, sometimes I will create that routine and I'll be on it. And then once I fall off it, I'm off of it. So, building that consistency is, something I do struggle with, but if you could just believe in yourself that if you keep working on it, you will get better at it. You know, you will start to feel better. So, you know, speaking from just the experiences I've had lately and dealing with my own stress and getting to such a great place with it, but then allowing another stress to completely take me out. Like I'm right back, you know, where I was. But I'm not going to say no to taking on that stress, even though I probably like I'm sure my twin doesn't want me like taking on the stress, but I can't help it. Like it's part of my ADHD of like overthinking, and you know, and that's where it gets me so messed up because when I start overthinking about the future and the unknown and things that haven't happened yet, and worst case scenarios that are not in existence just yet, and I don't want to bring them in. But I'm over there overthinking, just making it as like a manifestation, and I'm like, wait, no, no, let me retract that. Hold up. So that energy that we're putting forth continuously and consistently is really helping to create that field of emotion and energy that we're residing in. So if you find yourself residing in an overall negative energy majority of the time, like literally take a look at what you are emitting, you know, through your thoughts, through your emotions, and try to take a pause and breathe, you know, just to stop the circulation of those same like-minded thoughts. You know, just take a step back, like, wait a second, I'm overthinking, or I have way too many negative thoughts. I have too much anxiety, you know, all this stress about all these what ifs, or all these, you know, the bills got to get paid and where's the money going to come from? Like, you know, and working so hard and, you know, living check to check, or, you know, have getting help, you know, from the government. Sometimes that can affect people not being able to provide for themselves. So how in those moments when you're caught up in that whirlwind, it's like a hamster wheel. It's nonstop, just keeps running, just running and running and running, and you wonder why you can't sleep at night. Your mind can't shut down. It's still running. So it's so important to cultivate that pause, and you know, maybe it's through a breath or what works for you. You got to figure it out. Try it. Try different things until you find what it is that does help you to take a step back and breathe and pause the thought track. And once you pause it, then you can redirect it, right? You know, the train's going full speed. You can't stop a full speed train, right? You gotta take that pause and slow it down, slow the train down, the train of thought. And that way you can just redirect the course of train of thought, you know, so that is going in the right direction. And if you went this way for however long, you know what I mean, it's going to take you a little bit to get back on track, right? So have patience with yourself and build into your routine of living just an overall kindness and love for yourself. And you know, that's extremely difficult if you're coming from a place of you hate yourself, right? I remember back in the day, I used to hate myself extremely, and it was all kinds of different aspects that played into that. But I learned that I had to stop hating myself before I could just like not like myself, you know. So I went from hating myself to not liking myself to neutral to, you know, maybe I like myself too. Okay, you know what? I'm loving myself. Okay, I'm falling in love with me. Right? So it was like step by step. For any of you out there that are like, I don't love myself, just remember, step by step, you can't get from I hate myself to I love yourself. You gotta go through that spectrum and just start with one foot in front of the other. Like this is for everything. Like I'm trying to start my business out here, and it's really, you got to start from somewhere. Like everyone got to start somewhere. So wherever you want starting point, choose it to be now, not later, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other in the right direction. And if you take a few steps back, just breathe, go easy on yourself, and keep moving forward. Redirect yourself forward. So upgraded coping mechanisms. Keep in mind that everyone has their own journey. Everyone is experiencing things in their own way, at their own time, in their own pace. You know what I mean? So what works for somebody doesn't always work for another. And what I'm sharing is just from my experience and just trying to help bring, how do you say, like, just more like, you know, in case anybody out there is struggling with just awareness with it, you know, like here's some information that may help you. Well, you know, we're not going to say qualified information. I'm not a therapist or anything like that, or educated in, you know, a formal manner, but I do have experience with my own journey and getting myself from like the pit that I was born into to where I'm at today, which is such a better place. And of course, I have so much more to go. You know what I mean? Don't ever limit yourself. Don't ever tell yourself like, "Oh, this is it. I can't improve past this." No, you can always improve, always, and don't doubt yourself in your ability to heal within and without. You know, like any physical illness that you may have, like you have someplace in here where it started, where it's coming from. So always look inside and just learn what does work for you. And you know what? Maybe sometimes it is a distraction technique for the meantime until you can get something else better into practice. You know. Sometimes it's sugar, and that is so terrible because I freak myself out more like, oh my God, I'm going to get pre-diabetic if I just keep eating all this sugar, but it's like coping mechanism. Um, so right now, knowing that I have all these tendencies, I'm choosing in this moment to let's upgrade the coping mechanism and actually do the thing I'm supposed to do and use art as that, processing and that release. And staying conscious of those feelings. I'm not just pushing them away anymore. Which honestly, until recently, it was very easy to just push it under the rug, sweep it under, close that shit down. I mean, not look back. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's gone until it comes right back up. And sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, it's all different, it's all separate. No, it's all the same shit. It just keeps coming back up and taking whatever form necessary to help you dig it up and bring it out and release it, So today I've actually been sitting with my awareness of how much I was trying to hide from those emotions, how much I was trying to bury that stress, and how much I was really just continuing to sit in it because of all my effort to suppress it. Me like trying so hard to suppress that literally was the energy keeping me in it. And I don't really realize that sometimes in the moment, and it's a lot of times after, retrospect. But the more you're suppressing an energy or a thought pattern or an emotional pattern, the more it's going to be held stronger within your vibration. So it's really important to identify better ways for yourself to have an easier time sitting with it and releasing it or processing it. But whatever it is that you're doing, just trying not to suppress it, right? And that's just our handy dandy go-to and what you've been taught, and that's the easiest tool that you're reaching for, right? But upgrading your coping mechanisms, like any video game, right? You got to upgrade your tools, right? You can only get so far in the game with the base level 1 tool. You know what I mean? So yeah, you have to start with that level 1 tool, which might be something that's not as healthy, like AKA eating all the sugar, or like, oh, I'm gonna drink me another cup of coffee. Or even sometimes like you just need extra sleep. Like listen to your body, and these level 1 things, like if you feel like you are doing something too much, just know that it's helping you build to get to a point where you can upgrade that coping mechanism into something healthier. And no matter what, you always have more upgrades that are going to come in for these tools. Like you never have to just leave your tools at any level that they're at. There's always room for improvement. So just bear that in mind. Like no matter what you do, the coping mechanisms can improve, which enables the improvement upon your life emotionally inside, right? And when you start seeing the inside difference, you'll see it reflected outside. You'll feel better. And then sometimes there's going to be those days like, yeah, I've been feeling a lot better most of the time, right? And then today, just whoosh, like a shit storm just hit me hella hard. I woke up feeling all stressed out, and it reminds me like, okay, yeah, maybe sometimes either I need to take a little extra to meditate before going to bed so that I'm not holding stress into the next day. And then also maybe in the morning, like taking that pause, which I did not do. And since I didn't do it, I was just on that wheel for hours, and before I was able to get myself off of it. And I'm glad I was able to before the end of the day. But what happens most of the time is that we don't catch it. We're just on that wheel. We don't know how to get out of it. And then we find ourselves needing to vent to people, and talking over and over and over about the problems that we're experiencing, about the stress that we're experiencing, telling anybody that will listen, and just repeating the same thing over and over to all the people that will listen, and finding other people that are in a similar state that are also in stress, that can help codependency, like in the stress together. And so that doesn't really do anything but keep us in that vibration. And sometimes we might need to talk about it a little bit to help release and help process, but are we doing it in a healthy way, or are we just replaying it over and over and over? And so that's where the awareness comes into play, right? You need to be aware of what you're doing while you're doing it. And if you are speaking with somebody, venting to somebody, a close friend, and they're listening, be aware that you want to be processing it in that moment, instead of just venting like, oh, I'm so stressed, I need to talk to somebody, so stressed, I need to get it out. But more so like, okay, I'm stressed, need to get this out. How do I process this with my friend in a healthy way while they're listening? How do I allow myself to start feeling better through releasing this out, so just keep those things in mind. And I really hope this does help somebody out there. I have no idea how much my words may or may not help, and I just hope that even just one person makes a difference. So hopefully somebody will get something from this, because honestly I have difficulties to try to make more videos, because I'm like, I don't know if anybody really, like, are people holding value in this? It's just some random chick's words, like, what, but if anybody were to meet me in person, and I can go with my journey, with them, and walk together and help uplift them, like, those are the things that I live for, and that's what I do in my everyday today. Like, there's times I feel called to just pull over, I see somebody on the side of the road, and like they just need a smile or they need a conversation. But most importantly is discovering that, sometimes I need that for myself. Like, I need to give myself my smile, and not forgetting that. So I hope that me sharing, my random thoughts and emotions or things I might be experiencing, as much as a tangled mess it could be, I'm hoping that I could still eloquently word it in a way that could be beneficial. And of course, I'm actually better at like wording things majority of the time. I'm really good at like writing things, even though I'm dyslexic. It's mostly like numbers. Well, really, it's both, and I just reread things like 20,000 times. But it's way harder with the numbers, because it's like takes a calculation just one time not catching it, and boom, your whole thing's all fucked up. So math's my worst subject. But regardless of all that, I just really hope that each and every single one of us can learn how to create a happy day before the end of the day, every day, no matter what has gone on in that day, no matter how stressful, how bad, no matter what impending doom or like survival instinct that is just clenching and holding you tight, how we can just let those things go before the end of the day, or just allow ourselves room to breathe in a different state of being than the one that we're currently accustomed to, which is usually generally a state of survival. And how to get ourselves out of that, there are so many methods out there in so many different ways, and it's really just about educating ourselves and developing that awareness and practicing different things, trying different things out, and not losing heart if one thing you try doesn't work out, right? No, there's something out there for you. You just gotta find it, and you gotta keep looking. So don't give up. Don't give up just because the first thing didn't work when you tried to upgrade your coping mechanism. You know what I mean? Or sometimes it takes a few tries. Like you fall off the horse, you gotta get back on it. And guess what? You might fall back off that horse, but are you gonna get back on it? Like literally, like pick yourself up and get back up on the horse. Don't let yourself stay down there in the mud, in the rut. Do whatever you need to at that time that feels right to help you get into that better place. And just know that you will always improve upon that, and it's not always going to be this bad, and that you will have easier and easier time knowing how to pick yourself up in the future. Like, this is literally like helping us grow. And like, once we develop the tools, we're better equipped to handle the other shit that's flying our way. So just remember, don't give up. Just keep it going. Like, what? I was supposed to be painting this whole time, but I think it's hard for me to focus on painting and talking. So, I'll probably do like a time lapse of just priming this real quick, and when I get to the masking and stuff like that. But I hope y'all have a happy rest of your day. Create the best energies you can from within whatever place you are, and start allowing better things to flow in, and be ready to receive when those things start flowing in that are better, like energies, thoughts, feelings, be in a place where you can openly receive that, because that's another thing I've always struggled with, is receiving the good that is there, right? I'm like, oh no, that's not there for me. And it was only really until recently that I discovered I had that core wound from childhood, from something that I had went through, that told me at a young age, I learned that I good things didn't happen to me. They couldn't, because of a specific event. It was like a conclusion that my 7-year-old self came to, and I didn't realize that I was holding on to that all this time. I'm 32 now, you know what I mean? I'm over here not even realizing it's such a core wound just deep in there, and your subconscious kind of just blocks out your ego, just right. It's gonna protect you and doesn't let you see. And so it took a little bit for me to see that, hey, wow, I have this belief, this core belief in there that I'm not even paying attention to, but this belief that developed because out of survival, that hey, good things don't happen, so you got to protect yourself, you got to do everything, you got to fight for yourself, you got to you know take care of you. Nobody can do that, and I didn't even take care of me for the longest time, right? But finally I started processing that, and working out that belief, and releasing it, because it doesn't serve me any longer. It did serve me then, and I give that respect to it, and that allows it to kind of just lighten up. And when I breathe through it, I'm like, okay, you know what? I do deserve good things. Good things do happen to me. So I wrote a poem recently, that I entitled "Good Things Are Happening." And so yeah, and even in the face of all that, right? And I'm like, okay, good things are happening, I'm feeling better, and I'm like creating better in my life. I still have close people to me in my heart that good things aren't happening to. And that's where I get put right back into that, stress mindset, and core beliefs, and just kind of re-inviting all those negative energies in. And they're always there for us to pick back up. So just be mindful of that. Like, you can always reach for those, and your body gets so accustomed for reaching for those because it's used to that, it doesn't even realize there's other energies that you could be reaching for. But you have to clear what's inside before you have room to reach for those other things. And when you do have room to reach for more, make sure you're aware of what it is that you're reaching for, and what it is that you're allowing back in. And try to be mindful of lessening the negative coming back in and allowing more positive. So just take that time every day. If each and every single one of us, could just feel better before the end of the day, before we go to sleep at night, just do what we can to breathe, to take that pause, to put ourselves in a different state of being than what we've been in all day. If it's been negative, if you've been in a good place mentally, emotionally, you've been feeling great, stay in that energy, right? But if you've been in a negative place, and in negative in your heart and that energy, and you're not feeling good, do whatever you can to help bring yourself out of that before you go to sleep. So that way, hopefully, you can bring better energies into the next day and have like an easier startup. But no matter what, things are going to come at you. So you just got to hold strong and not let those things tear you back down. But if they do, catch it and realize it and recognize it and be aware of it, so that sooner than later you could do something about it. So I hope that helps anyone that might be listening. Just take those words and let them, soak into you and resonate with you in whichever way that feels right. And hopefully allow you to cultivate more awareness, more presence with yourself and the now, source, God, universe, whatever name, and more good feelings. So I hope y'all have a good rest of your day and create happiness wherever you can.